Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
I'm Bob. How's it going?
It's so cold I feel like I can't talk.
You're doing fine.
Okay, we are up here on a crisp February day skiing the new Rossignol Arcade 84. We put out that kind of trip recap video earlier this week from Deer Valley.
Yeah.
We got to ski it back in Pico. I skied it in Utah. We skied it after a thaw freeze cycle recently. I feel like I've really got it in a lot of conditions now, and I think it's a really nice refresh. Obviously, experience line is gone, or maybe that isn't obvious, but experience line is gone, and now we've got these new arcades.
Yeah, and we'll kind of talk about it more in the studio as to the differences and similarities between those two. But
yeah,
you know, it's more of a refresh than a whole change. I mean, there's some combinations of elements that make it similar, but still falls into that really strict all conditions, all mountain ski, really well-rounded, but supremely fun on this packed powder.
I think so too. Yeah. I mean, we've got great conditions today. We got maybe 8 inches of snow yesterday, so you can see the remnants of that right now. In fact, look at this guy.
Good slash.
Ew. So we're not really doing that on Arcade 84s, although we just came through some trees and I thought they did just fine. So we're gonna ski one of my favorite pitches for a ski like this, and then we'll meet you back in the studio, talk more about these skis. These are gonna be an early release.
Excellent.
So I believe you can buy these officially today.
Sweet.
So yeah, we're gonna go skiing and we'll talk to you soon. Hey skiers, here we are back in the studio. Lovely morning out there today.
Yeah, I had a blast.
Nice to have some fresh snow and sunny skies.
Always nice to be able to see where you're going. I feel like we've been dealing with poor visibility lately.
That's been the theme of the season.
So far.
Poor visibility.
Yeah,
I don't think you're far off there. Here we've got the Arcade 84. I've been skiing this 176. Bob, you've been skiing that 184. Before we get into the details, I did want to slightly correct myself from the intro in that experience isn't completely gone.
Yeah.
This doesn't like 100% replace experience, but it does, at least part of it is gone. So basically we've got a new Arcade 84 here, and then we've got a new Arcade 88. And the skis that are gone for the 2025 season are basically Experience 82 Ti, specifically the men's ski. Experience 86 Ti and 86 Basalt, again on the men's side. So 82 Basalt and then 80 carbon and 78 carbon and then 76, which is more like a rental ski. Those remain. And actually on the women's side, the entire Experience collection fully carries over to next season, including graphics. So it's slightly confusing, but I do think it makes sense when you start looking at these skis. Another thing, Bob, I believe this goes all the way down to a 152.
I saw that. Saw a short length there,
so I don't think it's even fair to call this a men's ski.
Right.
I think this is a unisex ski that anybody could buy. And they're just, the theme is a little different than Experience.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to kind of open the ski up to more versatility, different snow conditions, off-piste conditions. There was a lot of talk on that Utah trip that I did, specifically with Jake. There was a lot of talk about moguls and trees, and like obviously there's going to be a limit to snow depth with a ski like this, but I don't know. I think they got something here.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. before we get into construction and shape and stuff like that, do you want to talk a little bit about price?
Yeah, because I think that that's a big thing going forward. And when we talk about this Experience 86 Ti, at least over the past few years, one of the things that came up was that ski was creeping up on $900.
As a flat ski.
As a flat ski.
It was very close. It was $899.95.
It's $900. So you're creeping up into that premium pricing model.
100%.
And I will admit I was surprised to see those prices come through on that PowerPoint that we're using to
On
do
Arcade.
the articles on the Arcade.
Yeah.
So
this Arcade 84 as a flat ski is $649. So $250 cheaper than that Experience 86 Ti over there, and $50 cheaper than this Experience 86 Basalt.
yeah,
And not that I don't dislike this ski, but I like this one more.
sure.
And if it's $50 less, like I just think that's like very commendable for Rossignol, and I think like I got to give them a lot of credit for just listening to the consumer.
Well, I mean, and it's also interesting that it's not following the current trend of everything being more expensive.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
that is really refreshing to see a really well-built ski
Yep.
come in at that price.
Yep. And to speak to the Arcade 88, and we can touch on the construction difference of where the price difference is coming from, but that one's just $699 as a
Right.
flat ski. So still $200 less
Yeah.
than basically the ski that it replaces. And that's a tricky conversation of like which replaces which.
Right.
And at least in my mind, I'm thinking it more like Arcade 84 replaces Experience 82 Ti.
Yeah.
Where Arcade 88, in my mind at least, replaces Experience 86 Ti and 86 Basalt. But obviously that's not necessarily true. It's
Yeah.
just the way that I internalize it.
I'm of a slightly different mentality, and mine is a little simpler. Mine is this 84 blends 80, 86 and 82, and 88 is something new and different.
I think that's
Eight-
probably the better way to think about it,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Yeah.
I think I like to think about the uptick in versatility,
Yeah.
and that's where my mind goes, is like this 84 is hands down more versatile than any Experience 82.
Yep.
And same can be said about Arcade 88 versus Experience 86,
Yeah.
where like you could make the argument that Experience 86 is just as versatile as this sort of, but I don't necessarily think that's true either.
I just think that they've done a great job of blending all 86 and 82
I think you're right.
stuff into this
Yeah,
84.
like TI and Basalt.
Yes.
Yeah. That feels like a good segue into construction.
Yeah.
Do you want to take us through construction of this Arcade 84?
Yeah. So I kind of piggybacking on that. Basalt. Do you have the Basalt over there?
Yeah, dude, you want a Basalt?
No, I just want to
Oh, okay.
reference it, I guess.
It's right there.
That's the one that had the Polonia wood core, so a little bit lighter in the basalts.
Yep.
No metal, used basalt stringers
Yep.
to get a little bit more energy. Arcade moves into poplar wood, which is what we see in the TI version. So it's
Yep.
taking a slightly more robust wood core and incorporating it into the ski. And then just they've really simplified things. You know, the
Yeah.
86 had the carbon alloy matrix, the drive tip solution, you know, different shaping in the sidewall profile.
It had so much stuff that I was going to forget something.
Yeah.
Anytime I talked about
I'm
it.
sure I didn't even mention it all just there, but it had more stuff.
100%, you definitely did.
Yeah. So Arcade basically simplifies it and takes it to a little bit more of a traditional style of construction, which I think is really refreshing.
Yeah.
So poplar wood core, and then we do get a sheet of metal underfoot. There is a slight way to see, like right thumbs to back here. So middle of the ski, we do see some metal, and that does a nice job with the grip and the torsional stiffness underfoot and gives it that really damp feeling.
Yep.
So no metal in the tips and tails, and that's an interesting thing to discuss when we get to performance,
Yep.
is how that affects how the ski goes.
It certainly does.
Yeah. And then one strip of line control technology, and when we pair that with the more traditional sidewalls, we're basically talking, I've started thinking about the sidewalls as an additional vertical laminate in the ski.
Sure,
So like a
like
cap
ABS.
ski, yeah. So like a cap ski doesn't get doesn't benefit from having that vertical.
I meant to say like
laminate.
line control technology.
Like line control.
Yeah,
So
it's like two more line control on the outside. It's got line control in the middle.
yeah,
The sidewalls are like more line control.
right. So I've been thinking about it like this ski has 3 vertical ABS laminates.
Struts.
Yeah, struts, 2 on the sides and then 1 through the middle. So that really does a great job at keeping the ski honest in a vibration standpoint, prevents counterflexing, and really just keeps you on your intended line. And then I like how they've brought the VAS. You asked me what VAS was.
There's too many acronyms. I always forget the acronyms.
And I wish we brought our colleagues Rossignol 7S from back in the day, because that square that they had here was called the VAS, Vibration Absorption System. So they've incorporated VAS material into the shovel of the ski, really does a great job at reducing those vibrations. And I think it's necessary when we're talking about Arcade 84 here, because they still have air tip. So basically from where the rocker starts up, it is lighter. So there is a lighter feel to the swing weight. But since this upper portion of the ski is like really rarely in contact with the snow, you know, a deep carve or anything softer, you're going to find it. But for the most part, this is out of the snow. And so it doesn't make that much of a difference if it's stiff or heavy.
Or if it's air or metal.
If it's air or metal, exactly. So leaving this light, but then picking up where the vibrations start right in the shovel, I think that's an effective way of keeping the ski pretty smooth and quiet.
Yeah, I think so too. For a partial metal laminate ski, I think it's pretty smooth and quiet.
And I think just looking a little bit closer at the sidewall tells a bigger story about how this thing feels like a more traditional ski. You can really kind of see that yellow full throughout. And I think that maybe this red one.
Yeah, that'll be a good visual.
82 Ti.
Let's see right where it ends.
Yeah, you can see it's really only full sidewall underfoot. And then we start tapering to cap. And then where the rocker starts in the tips and tails, then we're at full cap. So it's that's kind of one of the bigger differences from kind of that sidewall core thickness profile, is that this thing has a little bit more of a robust wood feel to it. So I think that's, you know, that really helps with snow feel, versatility, those fun things we were talking about earlier.
I think so too. And I feel like you and I often talk about how good a ski can be with just a relatively simple wood core and a good shape. And I feel like this is different than our normal example of that. Normally I feel like we're talking about twin tips. We're like, this is just wood and like camber. And like, turns out that's all you need. Then I feel like it's less common to have that conversation in a 8,400 foot all mountain ski. But I do love the simplicity, and I just think it's like, it's so cool how they can shed price. And like just kind of like go back to the basics sort of in building a ski, and you get a really good ski.
And stuff that they've already had that they know works, you know, air tip and
no, it's not.
VAS
There's still technology in here for sure. Hopefully Rossignol's not rolling their eyes at me.
We worked so hard on that.
Flex pattern, thing's pretty stiff.
It is pretty stiff,
like, for a partial metal laminate ski, I mean, obviously metal is not just making a ski stiff. We've had that conversation too. A lot of it is core thickness, and they're playing around a lot with that, and like you were talking about at length with the sidewalls. So when you think about its construction, it's not surprising that it's that stiff and strong, but I think when you look at it like in a catalog or on a website and then see the price tag, you'd be maybe surprised that it's this stiff and this strong.
No, I agree.
You want to talk a little bit about shape? So shape is pretty interesting. Bob, you noticed that compared to that ski, they basically just dropped 2 millimeters out of the center of the ski, underfoot area.
I put all these like back to back, the 86s and the 82s, and that one is right in the middle. So there's an edge showing of all of them. I'm 132, 84, 120. What are you? Which ski? This one
that
here?
That one that you're holding. It's shorter. But...
Oh, gosh. 132, 86, 120. So tips and tails.
Exact. And then while you've got that one, Bob, if you want to flip it over, so what we've noticed is tip rocker is pretty similar. not a huge difference there. I do think there's a tiny difference in the shovel shaping. Both use what Rossignol calls extended side cut.
Yeah.
I think that one is slightly more extended.
Yes.
But we're like, it's barely different at all. And then flip it over, I think like a subtle change in tail rocker changed the ski's personality way more than even I would have thought. So again, they're pretty similar, still like extended side cut on both of them. This one just has a tiny bit more splay, especially like right at the end.
Yep.
Like it looks like it's about to turn into a twin tip and then it just
Yeah.
stops. Where that one just has more like kind of traditional tail rocker for an all-mountain ski.
Yeah, they're certainly toying with that tail and trying to get it a little bit more fun and playful.
In kind of changing those side cut dimensions or width dimensions, they basically dropped 1 meter out of the turn radius as well.
Yeah.
So this length is a 15-meter turn radius. That 184 that you've got over there, Bob, I believe is a 16-meter turn radius.
Yeah, and
correct.
the other.
Am I correct?
You are 17 or 16. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Equal amount of positive camber underfoot too.
Yep.
And by which I mean a good amount.
Yes.
I was carrying these in, and one of our customer service representatives was watching me do it, and he's a snowboarder, and he even saw me carrying those in, and he's like, "Whoa, looks like those have a lot of camber in there." And I'm like, "Great eye."
Yeah.
Like, they absolutely do. And,
Yeah.
And that's part of the story here.
Yep. Do you want to get on to performance?
Love to.
So, just speaking specifically to the 84, maybe we can touch on the 88 a little bit throughout this, but we've skied them now all over the place. What was your kind of sticking to on-piste performance for now? What was your initial reaction, and what are your thoughts now, having skied them more and more?
I've been more and more impressed with the versatility.
Yeah.
Like starting out, I enjoyed the carving capabilities and obviously the engagement and completion.
Yep.
That extended side cut has a lot to do with it.
Yep.
You really make a long, effective edge, and you really feel the smoothness and energy from tip to tail. Love that about these skis. I did find them to be a little bit happier adhering to that radius. So what that means is not a unlimited speed limit
Yes.
in a carved turn.
Yes.
So for my experience, this 84 with the 16-meter turn radius prefers that 16-meter turn radius.
Yep.
You can brake shorter. You can make easy, short, skidded turns, nice, energetic slalom, great mid-radius turns. You can open it up. As soon as you start to push a little bit past that boundary, that's where we start to see the lack of full metal come into play.
Yep.
So, whereas this older 86 Ti did not have that limit.
Yep.
That's where I see a little bit of a limitation here in the 84, especially if you are braking longer from that turn radius.
Yep.
But coming across the fall line, it is more than happy to do that.
Well, and that's maybe this is a good opportunity to bring up, like, that's the difference between 84 and 88.
Yep.
The 80, it's basically the same construction, but the 88 has a full sheet of metal.
Yeah.
So there are differences between how the 84 and the 88 ski. For me, it's been really interesting. Like, that first day we skied them at Pico, I think I skied the 88 first and then skied the 84, which I think was like not a mistake, but it gave me a weird perception of the 84, and it felt a little twitchy.
Yep.
And then on that trip to Utah, I was watching Jake Stevens ski the 84 a bunch and was just ripping on them, and having a kind of quick chat with him on the chairlift. His way of describing it was, I just have to be so ready on the 84 to make the next turn, because it's like pretty easy to load up energy, and you feel it like in the tips and tails with the lack of metal. Like, you can get so much snap out of the ski that if you're then not engaged and ready to make the next turn, that's like where or why it felt twitchy for me. And the more and more I ski it, the less I feel like it has limitations for carving.
Yeah.
I do think that you're correct. It's like it doesn't love making just a huge, wide open, big radius carve. But like, what, two days ago? 2 days ago, before it snowed, I went out and skied it. You weren't with us, Bob, but Matt was filming, and it was like, that was ice.
Yeah.
Pure ice, like thaw freeze cycle, northern Vermont ice. Might not look like it in the footage, but I guarantee you just below the tiny layer of white that you're looking at is blue ice.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed with how well it held, and like I skied nosedive.
Right.
Like kind of fast, and it held. You know, it's not, if you compare it to an Experience 86 Ti, it's not limitless power. And that's kind of what you get on the Arcade 88 too. You basically get like, maybe not limitless power, but it sure feels like limitless stability. But yeah, the more and more I ski this thing, the less I feel like it holds me back on a groomer. And if anything, like, if I get to a point where I do feel like the ski is holding me back, it's just like a friendly reminder that I don't necessarily need to be doing that.
Right. Maybe you're going too fast overall.
Right. And like,
yeah,
mid-radius carves are super fun. And there's
Yeah.
certainly nothing wrong with like sticking to a mid-radius carve. And I feel like skiing them today, like back to pack powder, and we skied like kind of more low angle stuff, and like it's so much fun to ski.
Yeah.
And I feel like it basically has the performance that the general public is looking for when it comes to carving ability.
And we've seen kind of this move towards a shorter radius arc in a lot of all mountain skis lately.
Yeah, I
And
think
just
that's an industry trend for sure.
in general, like this 184, like a 16 meter radius and a 184
Yeah,
is
it's tight
tight.
radius.
So it's
Yeah.
it's just it's interesting. It's a little different.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, and like Jake was saying, being ready for the next turn is a big part of the part of the game.
Yeah, and I've seen it happen to both of us at this point.
I've gotten tossed
where you
quite
get,
a bit.
Yeah,
on
you get
this.
tossed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll probably see it in the footage, like landing on the outside edge of
Yep.
your inside foot, and like your outside ski is just way up in the air.
Right.
Like that's happened to me many times. I saw it happen to Jake as well.
Yep.
And like that's what happens with this ski. But if you're active and engaged and not like going way too fast, then that what could be perceived as a limitation is actually a benefit.
Yeah.
Because the ski is so snappy and energetic.
Yeah.
So, super fun.
Yeah, really fun.
Something that I think it does considerably better than like whatever the Experience skis that it's replacing is, although it's not that different in shape, I find that they make shorter skidded turns a little bit more easily.
Yeah.
Like I skied it, I feel like I've skied it down the S turns of nosedive like a million times at this point.
Well, we go there a lot. It's a great
I don't know.
place to be.
I was like just kind of skimming through some of the footage before we started filming, and I was like, S turns.
Yeah.
Why are there 3 clips of me skiing the same exact thing? But they did that really well.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. And you know, when we're talking about versatility in an all-mountain ski, you're not just talking about versatility for different terrain. You're talking about versatility for different turn styles.
Yes.
So many skis, like kendos, mantras, I'd put Experience 86 Ti in that category or that grouping, where you see people out there just skidding turns on them.
Yep.
And I'm not saying this as an insult to anybody's skiing style. There's a lot of people that skid their turns. And a lot of people that skid their turns end up buying really stiff, powerful carving skis, and then you can literally see them fighting the ski.
Yeah.
Like the ski does not want to do that, where this will do it just fine. And I found the Arcade 88 did too.
Yep.
So whatever it was, but whether it's just that extra tiny little kick in the tail, whatever it is, I do think it does that better.
Yeah, and that's a good, if I may,
Yeah, go for
move it into moguls.
Yep.
Because I think that what you're just saying there applies really well to the bumps.
Yep.
And I found that these skis do a great job at doing just that, doing different styles of mogul turns.
Yep.
And it's kind of been something that I've wanted to do for a little while now, is when I'm skiing skis like this, not just to ski them like I ski them, a direct zipper line, but to try different styles.
Go over there for a second, come back over here.
Yeah, exactly. Ski the tops of the moguls, kind of move your way around, ski them different ways. And that's where this 84 really excels, is by opening up different avenues through moguls and varied terrain. You know, you can ski a little bit over here and then move over there. And just kind of mix it up. And you do get, like you were saying, like, they're pretty stiff. You know, it's not the easiest ski to drive the shovel square into the bump. I can do it because I have the weight behind it. But I think that other people will find more success in making that more S-shaped turn through moguls and, you know, not just moguls, but like bumpy terrain. So
definitely.
There's definitely a huge upside here. And then you get the benefit of having that narrower waist, which makes it really quick. So I found a lot of quickness and mobility here in the bumps, and just the ski's ability to vary up those styles of skiing, whether you're direct zipper or a little bit more meandering.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I would say that I try and do the zipper line technique sometimes, and I still don't do it well. So I would describe my personal skiing style in moguls as much more of the meandering style. And I remember, do you remember skiing the Experience 86 Ti at Sugarbush for the first time?
Loved it.
And you were like ripping bumps on it, and you were like, this thing's great in the bumps. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that is not fun in the moguls at all. And I think like it's exactly what you're describing. Like, I don't have the weight to like smash an Experience 86 Ti shovel into a mogul. If I do, it bucks me into the back seat, and then I'm late, and then I'm not having a good time anymore, and then my knee hurts, and then I want to go home.
Nobody wants that.
But I do find on this ski that it's just a little bit more compliant and more forgiving for that skiing style. It was challenging in the trees today, and that was I'm glad that we did that, because we got a lot of snow yesterday, and it was also like 40, 50 mile an hour winds. So what might look nice and soft and fluffy on camera was not. It was wind packed and kind of slabby.
And cold, so it was like grabby.
Styrofoam. So my first turn, I think it was the first turn, I almost fell, because like the tail got under the snow a little bit, and I was like, oh my God. And then I've kind of remembered what I was on, 84 underfoot. Like, you're not limitless performance in powder. Yesterday I was skiing the same terrain on a ski that's 106 underfoot. So like my instincts were, I think, were still with the 106 underfoot. But overall I thought it did fine. Once I kind of like remembered that like correct technique and like wiggle style through the trees, I thought it did fine. But it does certainly have a limitation for deep snow.
Right. And what are our trees here in Vermont like most of the time? It's a
not
little
like
bit,
today.
No, it's usually more packed.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you're trying to navigate super deep snow. I mean, you can find it, but most of our like marked glades are generally skied and have kind of an established path.
Totally.
And that's just fine. You're not sinking in, you're not breaking in. Like most of the woods that we have here in like New England in general are a little bit more on the pack side than the fresh side.
Well, and like thinking about just like most skiers, most skiers don't ski every day.
Right.
Like you pick your weekend, you make your plan to go to a certain mountain, and like a lot of people want to ski trees. And people aren't going to not ski trees just because there's not fresh snow.
Right.
I don't ski trees if there's not fresh snow. But I am like an extreme outlier, I would say, just because of the amount that I ski. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that because I can do that another time and it'll be more fun.
Right.
But for those people that want to ski trees, period, and probably ski in New England, there's nothing wrong with something like this. And I feel like a lot of people in their mind, they need like a QST 98.
Right.
And like the QST 98 is great, or like a Black Ops 98. And those skis are awesome. But you don't need something that wide with that much rocker in trees if there isn't fresh snow.
Right. Which for us, unfortunately, is
Often.
a good part of the good chunk of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if our assessment, we're basically at Stowe every day. It's that way. I know. Sorry. We're basically there every day. And 95% of the days there's not like fresh snow in the trees.
Yeah.
And if 95% of the days that's how the conditions are, then a ski like this will work, in theory, at least 90% of the time.
Yeah, no, I think it's all about percentages, and that's where something like this, you got your traditional build, your more simple camber,
Yeah.
you got your mid-80s waist width. Like, they're really hitting all these key points for percentages.
What was your early 2000s twin tip?
The Dina Star concept?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we kind of talked about how, like, this is actually not far away from a ski
Right.
like that. And that was, like, so eye-opening in that generation of, like, oh my God, like, this is so much fun everywhere.
Right.
And it's not like skiing has changed so drastically since then. So, of course, a ski like this would still be really fun everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to like.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about for performance?
I don't think so. I mean, just like wonderful energy out of the tail. Like,
Yes.
you do have to be ready for it.
Yep.
Like, there's a taming element to this ski, I think. And watching
Yes.
someone like Jake, who clearly has a high-level racing background, I don't know if you have a specific, but like watching him put this ski through those turns
Yep.
really should give skiers confidence that, oh, I'm not going to blow past this thing.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
Like, I think that's
It can do all of those
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
It's more just like it provides you a reminder of what you have to do as a skier
Yeah.
if you're expecting that level of performance.
Yeah.
Earlier I called it an elevated stance 84,
I like that.
and it's $150 more, I believe, than a stance 84, which feels like the appropriate price difference.
Yeah.
Steadfast 85 kept bouncing into my mind as a comparable ski overall. I would
Yep.
say this has more energy to it and a little bit more versatility, but there's tons of skis in that mid-80 category that we really like.
Yeah.
I don't think it quite feels like we skied Anomaly 84. I don't remember what the price of an Anomaly 84 is, but that ski
I thought that
feels
was in the sevens.
a little different with
Yeah.
how much more metal it has. But again, like, tons of good skis popping up in this mid-80 category.
Right, even like the Montero AR, like
Yeah.
that's almost,
Yeah,
I don't want to say twice as much, but it's
close.
considerably more expensive.
It's awfully close.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we used to talk about the Experience 86 Ti as
Yeah.
like a slightly cheaper alternative to a Montero AR.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know that this is necessarily in that same conversation anymore. I think the Arcade 88 is closer, but still feels more all-mountain-y for whatever reason, or like they're a little bit more, I don't know. I feel like the Montero at least like takes away some quickness in bumps in favor of endless stability on
yeah, and,
firm snow.
and power.
Yeah.
You're not going to find the limit of speed on that AR.
Correct.
So,
But much more of a handful in bumps.
and just
trees, stuff
overall,
that.
I was carrying mine on my shoulder away from the ski bum race the other day.
You're
and I was
stokish.
like, yeah,
It's so
and I was
heavy.
like, oh,
Yeah.
that is a heavy ski.
Yeah.
So nice to have the agility of the lighter one.
Totally. I know in the intro I talked about availability and that you could buy them today. I still think that's true. So I didn't correct myself in the intro. I'm sure you can buy them somewhere today. You could probably call Rossignol and be like, can I have a ski? We don't have them yet. They'll be here next week. So you'll see them pop up on our website next week. And if you're interested in a pair, I would encourage you to pick one up.
I think it's a great buy.
There's
Great
a lot of
value.
season. Yeah, no, there's
Yeah.
tons of value here.
Yeah.
And I think like, yeah, I mean, if I had to pinpoint the most impressive thing for me, it's how their ability to achieve that price.
The performance to value ratio, I think, is
Yeah.
off the charts for this.
Yep. Pivot. Enough money left over in your wallet for a pivot?
Tough brake compatibility.
Ooh, yeah, you're right.
Need that 85 pivot brake.
Maybe, yeah, maybe
I
we'll
don't know.
get
I think
one.
it skis fine with this connect system binding. Like it's.
I know Rossi listed a Pivot 15 like in their
Yeah.
catalog as a potential match, which I think would be sweet.
Yeah, just a little hang in the brake.
And then like you're basically under $1,000 still.
For an awesome setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically $1,000, but
Yeah.
it's not much over. So that's it. That's the new Arcade 84 from Rossignol. Let us know if you have any questions, and we will see you out there on the slopes.
Bye.